You think you care what people think. You don't. What you actually care about is losing access, losing approval, losing your position in a group you've already outgrown. The fear isn't about their opinion. It's about what their opinion costs you. That distinction changes everything. And Marcus Aurelius figured it out in 2 sentences while running an empire. But before we get there, try something. Think of the last opinion that bothered you. Now ask yourself one question. What did it actually change? If the answer is nothing, then you've already experienced the first step to freedom. So who gave that opinion power in the first place? Here's how the trap works. You speak up in a meeting. One coworker glances at another. Neither says a word. By lunch, you're replaying the moment. On the drive home, you're rewriting what you should have said. Before bed, you're still wondering if you embarrassed yourself. Nothing actually happened, but your body thinks something did. Heart rate up, chest tight, thoughts racing. Why? Because your brain can't fully distinguish between social rejection and physical threat. Much of the same survival circuitry activates. Your nervous system responds first and asks questions later. You're not weak. You're wired for this. The problem isn't the wiring. The problem is that you've handed the control panel to everyone who happens to look in your direction. Marcus Aurelius noticed that nearly 2,000 years before, neuroscience could explain why. Marcus Aurelius wrote something most people misread. He said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." He wasn't giving advice. He was diagnosing a malfunction. Think about how strange that is. The most powerful man in the world realized he could value a stranger's passing judgment more than his own honest assessment, and he called it absurd. Most people stop there. Marcus didn't. He built a way out, not by becoming emotionally numb, but by changing one decision almost everyone makes automatically. Here's why this matters. If you mistake every opinion for the truth, eventually you'll build your entire personality around avoiding criticism. You'll stop saying what you believe. You'll start making smaller decisions. Without realizing it, you'll become easier to control. That's the real cost. Now separate the signal. Every opinion aimed at you falls into one of 2 categories. Category 1. It reveals something about them. Their insecurity, their projection, their need to feel taller by making someone else feel smaller. Picture someone mocking your ambition because they never pursued theirs. Their words feel personal, but they're describing themselves far more than they're describing you. Most criticism belongs here. Category 2. It contains useful information, a blind spot, a mistake, a pattern you genuinely need to see. The person who controls you is the person whose opinion you automatically treat as truth. The Stoic move isn't to stop listening, it's to stop assigning truth by default. The next time criticism lands, pause before reacting. Ask one question. Is this data about them or data about me? That single pause decides who stays in control. There's another trap that's even harder to notice. Most of the judgment you suffer never comes from another person. You manufacture it yourself. You're standing in the shower replaying yesterday's conversation. You're rehearsing an argument before walking into work. You're deleting a social media post because you've already imagined the comments. Seneca described this perfectly. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. You've lost entire afternoons to conversations that never happened. You've changed real decisions because of imaginary reactions. That's not awareness. It's self-sabotage disguised as preparation. The fix is brutally simple. The moment you catch yourself running a simulation, interrupt it. Say it out loud if you have to. This hasn't happened. I'm not borrowing pain. You're not denying reality. You're refusing to live inside a story your mind invented. And here's the irony. The people you're imagining are usually too busy worrying about what everyone thinks of them. Now comes the hardest part. Some opinions genuinely matter. Your boss, your spouse, a close friend who's earned your trust. But that's exactly where the trap becomes more dangerous. You stop seeking feedback. You start performing. You soften your opinions before speaking. You laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You agree when you really disagree. You apologize for boundaries that don't need apologizing. One decision at a time, someone else's expectations quietly replace your own standards. Eventually, you can't tell whether your choices belong to you anymore. Epictetus put it this way: if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. He wasn't praising embarrassment. He was describing the price of freedom. You cannot spend your life managing every perception while remaining loyal to your own standards. One of those has to lose. And surprisingly, when people know exactly where you stand, they usually trust you more, not less. Everything you've heard so far depends on one deeper change. You have to stop acting as though other people's opinions determine your value. Not just intellectually, behaviorally. That sounds simple. Until your friend questions your decision, until you tell someone no without explaining, until you leave a message on read because you don't owe an immediate response, until you politely disagree instead of pretending to agree. Those ordinary moments are where freedom is built. Right now, approval feels like oxygen. That's why one cold text changes your mood, why one awkward silence follows you for hours, why one raised eyebrow can rewrite your entire day. The way out isn't another quote. It's evidence. Small pieces of evidence your nervous system can actually believe. Every time you survive one of those moments without chasing approval, your brain updates its prediction. You survive, and every repetition weakens the illusion that approval keeps you alive. Marcus Aurelius never simply said, "Stop caring what people think." He said something much sharper. Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. That's more than a mindset. It's an operating system. Think back to the question from the beginning. What did that opinion actually change? Probably less than your mind convinced you it did. Now ask one more. 5 years from now, will this person's opinion matter? Will it matter when you're living with the consequences of your own choices instead of theirs? If they don't carry your responsibilities, if they don't live your life, if they won't face your regrets, why should they decide your worth? The people you admire aren't fearless because they were born different. They're freer because they stopped treating approval like currency, and once you stop paying with it, no one can charge you for it again. This week, choose one moment where you normally ask for permission. Maybe it's setting a boundary, sharing an honest opinion, declining an invitation, or making a decision without explaining yourself. Do it once. Notice the discomfort, then notice what actually happens. Most of the catastrophe existed only in your imagination. I'm curious, what's harder for you? Ignoring criticism from strangers, or disappointing someone whose approval you've spent years trying to earn? Tell me in the comments. Your answer might reveal the one opinion that's still quietly controlling your life.